Hello and welcome into the Red Sox Roundtable right here on CLNS Media. I am your host, Nick Qualia, per usual, sitting alongside Jess Thomas. Jess, what up?
What up? Late ad here. Didn't know I was going to be doing this, but we're going to do it.
Late ad, but you know plenty about the Red Sox, so we'll get through this fine. I know we'll get through this fine.
I have my show. I have Red Sox beaten 50 minutes. So, yeah, I'd say I know a few things.
Exactly. And plus, I know you know quite a few things about this topic because you consistently argue about this in the group chat. And the topic
the only thing I argue about.
Exactly. The topic tonight, especially since David Price is nowhere to be found recently, the topic tonight is going to be, can we trust Rick Porcello come playoff time to be in the 4-man or 3-man rotation? But before we get into the roundtable, let me tell you that this roundtable is brought to you by FanDuel. Attention fantasy football fans, the wait is nearly over because football is back, baby. Man, it's been riveting to have fantasy football back in my life. I just can't get enough of it. But in turn, that means that FanDuel is back. FanDuel is huge for the fantasy football everyday fan with new contests every single week, which means absolutely no busted seasons. Guess what? You drafted Allen Robinson. It doesn't even matter because then you get to pick a whole new team next week, so you don't even need Allen Robinson on your team. It's simple, and there is something for everyone with a ton of contests to choose from, starting at just $1. Just pick a contest, choose your team, and watch your scores skyrocket in real time. Over 2.5 million players have won a cash prize playing fantasy sports on FanDuel. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and use my code RedSoxBeat. That is all one word, RedSoxBeat. If you use that code, you get to try FanDuel for free. That's right, I mean for absolutely nothing. Nada, with absolutely no deposit required. Visit FanDuel.com to claim your free contest and play for a share of $10,000. Just sign up using promo code RedSoxBeat. That's FanDuel.com. Using promo code RedSoxBeat. Void where prohibited. All right.
Let me tell you two things, Nick.
Yes.
One, I love when you do that read. It cracks me up. My favorite part is when you always say, baby, after football. I love that. And two, I did FanDuel for the first time this past week because I did our league that we're pumping up here. And it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected I would.
No, FanDuel's cool, and I love that you don't have to worry about the players for next week because if you draft somebody and then they suck, you really don't even have to worry about it. That's the coolest part of the whole thing.
I took Martavis Bryant, and he did terrible, and I don't have to pick him next week.
Yeah, so you know what?
Right.
Screw Martavis Bryant. F him. He doesn't even matter next week.
Right. It is cool. You don't have to put as much thought into it. You don't have to be like, oh, what about long-term on the season? It's good. I like it. So I'd encourage it. I know it's our promo, but I still encourage it. It was fun.
No, FanDuel's cool. I know everybody I know who uses FanDuel loves FanDuel. But into the topic, Rick Porcello, can you trust him come playoff time? Jess, what do you think about this? Because Rick Porcello, obviously last year's Cy Young Award winner, this season, not so much. 17 losses so far. What do you think? Can we trust him come playoff time?
All right, so I've gone back and forth on this several times. My confidence in him has certainly wavered a little more than it has at any other time with Rick Porcello. Obviously, last year it didn't waver at all because he was the man. This year, the lack of run support at the beginning was definitely a concern. He's gotten more recently, except for the last game. They decided to go back to old Rick Porcello in early season and not score for him. But obviously the home runs are a concern. The hits are a concern. I get both of those. But I would still take him for two reasons. The first one, he's an experienced pitcher. He's been in the league for 8 years, 7-8 years. And I think that he has a big game mentality. Yes, he's prone to a couple of home runs, but I think also, if he just locks in, he locked in all last year. If he can lock in like that and just pitch well for a couple games in the playoffs, I think I do have some confidence in him. Obviously, you want to score some runs for him. You don't want to give up too many home runs because it's the playoffs. But I think I would still take him over Erod because Erod's a lot younger. He has times where he gives up 5-6 runs in an inning, and you can't have that in the playoffs. So I think just experience-wise and, just the pitcher that he is, I think I would still give Porcello the slight edge over Erod. Call me crazy. Maybe you don't agree.
Yeah, see, now, that's the thing. I don't want Erod in the rotation because the same thing. He's young, he's inexperienced, and we've seen him have great games, but we've also seen him kind of falter and look like a young pitcher, which isn't anything against him. He's a young pitcher. But I don't want Rick Porcello in the rotation either. And it's because of one simple thing. It's the amount of home runs that he gives up. And the teams that you will be playing in the playoffs, most likely going to be either Cleveland or Houston, especially Cleveland. If we focus on Cleveland for a second, because if you get through the first round, you're going to eventually face Cleveland, or you're going to face them in the first round, depending if Houston takes first place back in the American League. Cleveland is a team who is on a surge right now, and my God, do they have power. Rick Porcello has been giving up so many home runs. So he's had 2 starts, right, so far in September. That was against Toronto and Tampa Bay. He's given up 3 home runs so far. And the thing about that number is he didn't give up a home run yesterday. So he gave up 3 home runs to Toronto, which is terrifying for somebody if you think about playoff pitching. And he's just been a home run machine. I'm looking back at the numbers right now. He had 1 game where he didn't give up a home run in August, 1 game in July where he didn't give up a home run, 2 in June, and 2 in May. But for the most part, he's given up so many home runs. He's got to be leading the league in some respect for home runs.
He does lead the league in home runs allowed, yeah.
He has to be. It's been absolutely mind-boggling how many home runs he's given up.
He almost has a franchise record for the Red Sox ever in home runs. I think the most is 40. He's 5 home runs away from the most home runs ever in Red Sox history.
Yeah, and I believe that's Tim Wakefield, right? Who's a knuckleball pitcher.
Yes. Or I think he was second with 38. Yeah.
So he's just been clearly off. In last season, just reverting back to Cleveland, Cleveland doesn't have the same lineup that they had last year. They have a more powerful lineup now with Edwin Encarnacion on it. He gave up 5 earned runs last season, and he gave up 3 bombs in the playoffs against Cleveland. This team only got more powerful, and I don't want him in this lineup. And the only reason I don't want him in the rotation is because if you look back at the other 4, if you want to look at a 4-man rotation right now, you can have Chris Sale. I want to believe, as much as I don't think he's going to do well, and you just kind of have to take the L when he pitches, I believe David Price will be back come playoff time. You want to put David Price in that spot. Hopefully he can get a win. If not, you got to play Drew Pomeranz. Drew Pomeranz has been your second best pitcher in the rotation. And then you would have never said this in April because you didn't know he was going to be on the team. But Doug Fister, that's your 4-man rotation. Doug Fister, other than Chris Sale, who even's been shaky as of late, Doug Fister has been so freaking good. Doug Fister's been one of your best pitchers in the rotation. You got to pitch him come playoff time. If playoffs started today, that's my 4-man rotation you got to go with if David Price is back. If he's not back, I agree with you. You got to play Rick Porcello over Erod. Because A, you don't know if Erod's going to actually be healthy with that knee that's always hurt. And B, Porcello's been there before. Porcello's pitched there before. And regardless of the numbers, he only lasted 4.1 innings. He still has experience. He's been there in 2011, 12, 13, and 16. Hell, he played against the Red Sox in 2013. So, yeah, you got to go with Rick Porcello, but the main question is, do you trust him? Absolutely not. No way do I trust him. I don't want to see him there.
I trust him to go deep into games, but it's hard to trust him not to give up home runs and a lot of hits. I mean, if you just look at the season, you just look throughout the game log as we're doing, and it's hard. It's hard to trust him in either of those regards. I don't think Price is going to come back in the rotation. I'm surprised he came back at all. I mean, such a slow recovery. Simulated game here. Okay, 5 days later, simulated game with 1 more inning. 5 days later, another simulated game with 1 more inning. That's what it sounds like the path he's on. And if he keeps doing that path, then there's no way in hell he's coming back before the playoffs. And
Yep.
I don't think they can trust him to pitch as a starter in the playoffs when he's just working back in simulated games where he's going 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings. So if that path continues, maybe he comes back from the bullpen. That would be hilarious because his only win at playoffs is in the bullpen. So that would be very
hey, it's
ironic.
where he's best. It's where he's best.
Yeah, that's where he gets the wins. So I think he'll be in the bullpen for the playoffs, which I think in turn that would make Sale first, Pomeranz second, and yeah, I'm saying it too. This is write it down. Doug Fister 3, Rick Porcello 4.
Doug
I don't
Fister
know.
3.
It's so weird. He wasn't even on the team until 2 months ago, and now we're slotting him in the 3 hole.
No, it
And
has
Drew
been
Pomeranz-
awesome.
If Drew Pomeranz wasn't king this year, you'd be putting Fister 2.
Oh, yeah. See, I remember back in late April or early May, I was texting some kid, and he was like, Drew Pomeranz going to be one of the best pitchers on the team this year, mark it down. And this was after one of his like first good games, and I was like, dude, shut up. Like, there's not a chance in hell. We even had a $50 bet saying that Pomeranz wouldn't get more than 7 strikeouts in the next game. And ever since then, Pomeranz has just been pitching his balls off. He's been insane. He's been so good.
I mean, I'll take credit for that too. Players to watch for our column that we did before the year. My player to watch for was Drew Pomeranz. I don't know how confident I was in it, but I said this guy's a good pitcher. He's going to move past his health issues and have a really good year. Go back and read it. It's in print. So I will take some credit for that. I don't know if I expected 15 wins, a 3.3 ERA, and one of the best pitchers in the league, but I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, no, you 100% called it, and I think you were probably the only person who called it. But
yeah.
Just looking at Porcello's numbers this year, Porcello's always been a ground ball guy, but he goes long. He goes deep into games because he gives up hits quick. Because he gives up meatballs in the middle of the zone, and his main pitch obviously is the sinker. That's his thing. Last year, when you saw him pitching well, his sinker was biting, and it was biting late, and it would just drop on hitters, and they wouldn't be able to touch it. This season, he's keeping the sinker up, so when it eventually drops, it's still in the strike zone. So he's not getting any swings and misses this year, and he's not the kind of guy. We always say that Porcello's a ground ball pitcher. I don't think that he can be successfully, because when he leaves the ball in the zone, it's golfed for a home run. I just don't trust him I do not trust him in the playoffs. Absolutely not. I would much rather him in the bullpen, but again, you're going to have to just deal with it because you don't have another man who can take over that role, because David Price, you're right, Jess, he probably won't be ready.
I don't see how he will be. It's already September 11th. I mean, the season's over in 3 weeks, you know. It's right around the corner, and he's still pitching simulated games every 5 days. I mean, that doesn't scream hopeful to me in any way. And yeah, with Porcello, I mean, he's a ground ball pitcher, and he's up 35 home runs. That doesn't really add up. Like, what's up with that? Ground ball pitchers are not supposed to give up home runs, or even close to that many. So it kind of goes against the logic of ground ball pitcher, because, you know, home runs are fly balls, long fly balls.
All right.
So, yeah.
Red Sox Roundtable, CLNS Media. Jess, thank you so much for coming on and saving me tonight, because, man, I would have been very unhappy. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a good night, and make sure to continuously check CLNS Media for pregame and postgame coverage. Have a good night, everybody.